What up? Can everybody hear? Can you hear me, Corey? All right. There he is. I got a special guest coming on tonight.
How you doing, man?
The man of the hour, Blek Tollefson. How are you, buddy?
Good. Yourself?
I'm not doing too good, or doing too bad, I should say.
I was gonna say not too good. What's going on?
Because the ice is so crappy, and it's whatever.
I saw some of your videos and stuff. It doesn't look good in your neck of the woods.
No, it is. It's horrible, to say the least.
Yeah, it's not fun.
What are you up to? You're getting ready for where? Where are you headed?
I'm heading to Ottertail County here tomorrow night, so I'm looking forward to it. Never been over there, so it should be fun. Awesome.
Who you gonna go up by Scotty and the boys?
I don't know exactly where they live at, but it's actually a group of 6 of us, buddies from high school and college. We've been taking a trip for, I think this is our 10th or 11th year. We pick a different area every year, and so it should be fun. Somewhere new none of us have been.
Sweet. Well, I'll see if Scotty Brewer and Kyle, those guys could definitely put you on some fish for sure.
Yeah, I talked to Kyle last week, so I probably will run into him one day, and then a couple of the other guys on the Eskimo team I know live in that neck of the woods. So I'm sure I'll reach out to a few of them. But man, there's so much water up there. I'm really looking forward to it. Yeah, it's.
I'm jealous. How much snow do they have up there?
It sounds like not much. They said I can take a wheeler anywhere, so that's a welcome sight because I haven't had my wheeler on ice over here at all this year because of snow.
Sure.
So, yeah.
Awesome. Well, hey, thanks for joining.
Absolutely.
So we've got a special guest, Blek Tollefson. You're up by what, like the Chippewa Falls area?
Yep. I'm in Chippewa Falls. Yep.
Okay. Tell us a little bit about yourself, what you do, and what I guess where you came from.
Yeah, so Blek Tollefson, currently live in Chippewa Falls area, Chippewa Falls, Wisconsin, so just north of Eau Claire. Originally grew up in northern Minnesota, kind of south of Duluth. But I've been over here for probably, 9 years now? So I've been in Wisconsin for 9 years. Do a lot of different things in the fishing industry. Not my full-time gig, but it certainly could be with the people I work with. Do a lot with Eurotackle, St. Croix, Norfin, Eskimo, ION, Markham. That's a few of them, I guess.
Sure. Yeah, I know we kind of hang out together a little bit with the Eskimo ION stuff, and of course all the Eurotackle with Ben, and
absolutely.
He's got some awesome stuff that came out this year. We're just loving the Z darters.
Fantastic.
That miniature size, that micro size on Poigan has been an absolute deadly bait. That little bit of rattle, perfect size, and the colors that he has definitely has been a game changer for me this year. Yeah, I still want him to come up. We got to come out with a spoon, similar to, we got to figure out something different, obviously, but we need a good jigging spoon.
I can't say too much, but there's something in the works that I imagine you'll see sooner than later, and it's really exciting. I have one of them in my possession that I've been fishing with quite a bit, and I'm a big fan of it so far.
That's good. That's the one bait that he's missing, and I can't wait because I know when he does come out with something, it's going to be top notch and should be pretty good.
Yep, that's the thing with Ben. He might not have everything, but that's just because he hasn't found the right thing. That's different enough, or quite the right thing he's looking for.
Sure. So Blake's up in the northwest part of Wisconsin here up by Chippewa Falls. What's happening up there, Blake? How's the snow? How's the ice conditions? How's the fishing been?
Things are kind of all over the place, and it changes. It's very, very regional. So like right around this Eau Claire area, it's pretty decent right now. We have, we have some very decent ice conditions. They're taking trucks on Lake Wissota, which is kind of the big lake in the area here. But a lot of the smaller stuff still is people are stuck with, snowmobile traffic or maybe some wheeler traffic, depending on the right place. But I was over in that Amory area just this last weekend, and it's a mess over there. There's not many places I didn't think you could get a truck out. In a lot of places, you probably couldn't even get a wheeler out. I brought the snowmobile over there, and that was one of the only reasons I was able to get to where I was going. Hayward area, kind of the same thing. It's a mess up there. They just got hit with so much snow so early in the season that things are just kind of a mess. Sure. Yeah, it's a interesting year. Not a great year for ice fishermen, that's for sure.
No, and you guys are dealing with snow and slush and water, and we're dealing with open water and no ice and busted up shorelines. It's still raining outside right now. It's 37, 38 degrees. And then we've got a snowstorm coming in tomorrow night through Thursday, up to 10 inches of snow. It's just one punch after another from Mother Nature.
It is, and we're going to get hit with that too. I mean, the only reason we're a little bit more fortunate than you is we have ice already. I mean, for you guys, that's detrimental. You don't have much going on over there. We at least have enough that it'll make things messy, but you can still get out if you have the right machine or you're willing to walk,
Yeah.
So it's not a good year.
Even with that snow, I mean, I've fished in some pretty crappy conditions over the years, and when you get all that snow on the ice, you get that slush. You drill a hole, and you got an instant foot of water, that you're walking around in. That's some brutal conditions. And that fun. Being said, I know you're a big part of the Norfin team too, and everybody knows that Norfin is by far the best boot I have ever worn. I can't suggest a better boot to anybody. And I know Norfin has a bunch of other stuff as well, in the ice gear and flotation stuff and that. But talk about boots for a second here, Blake. What do you guys have for boots this year?
Yeah, so in terms of ice specific boots, there's really two main ones: the Klondike, and I can actually grab a pair of each of them here. With the Klondike and the Yukon. So the Klondike, people. Well, let me grab the other one here. The Klondike is kind of the ultimate ice fishing boot. It's rated for -40, and then it actually has built-in cleats on the bottom. So this is that Klondike. So this is probably the one that most people are familiar with. Has a liner built in there that's removable. You want to pull those out for drying. But then this new model this year has the two cleats, and you can just flip them up when you don't need them, or flip them out when you do. They are replaceable, so if you were to break one, something like that, you could swap out a new one. Kind of the warmer of our boots is the Yukon, and these are rated for -50. The main difference between the two, this is all kind of a one-piece construction, where the Klondike is a two-piece construction. These are almost like Crocs on the bottom. Insanely light, insanely warm.
Those guys are my favorite boots of all times. Two funny stories about Norfin. I am like a boot Nazi, right? I have bought every pair of boots I think known to mankind, and have tried just about everything I could get my hands on. And a little rabbit told me once about some of these boots that were over in Russia. And I did a lot of investigating, and I could not, for the love of me, try and find any, or I couldn't find anything, in the States. So two guys that I know, Jacek and Zibi, right? The two Polish guys that can understand some of that goofy language over there. I was doing all this research over on European websites and found a fishing tackle retailer from Bulgaria. And I couldn't understand anything on the site, but I seen the boots. I didn't know how to read or how to buy or anything like that. And Jacek helped me out, and I made the purchase. And it was like 2 weeks later, they showed up at the post office, and I go pick them up in the box. I pick up the box, and I'm like, God dang it! They sent me an empty box. And so I took a knife. I'm sitting there, and the guy's like, "Hey, why'd they send you something? What'd they send you in the box?" I'm like, "I don't know. I think it's empty." So I cut it open, and the boots were in there. That's just how light they are. Until you pick one of these boots up, you have no idea how light they are, and yet how warm and comfortable they are. As much as the Klondikes are a great boot. They've got the cleats, and that's fine. I've got a funny story about those. I truly like the Yukons better just because you have better flexibility. You don't have that sole on the bottom that's super hard. The Yukons are fit more just like a Croc. You're wearing an insulated Croc for the most part, and totally waterproof. We're walking around right now in 6 inches of water out on the Bago system, and 0 problems with wet feet. Warm, durable. I wear the Catulas over the top of those, and I don't have to ever worry about slipping and falling, and feet staying dry and warm. And if you've never tried a pair, do yourselves a favor and try them out. And they're fairly inexpensive for what they really are.
Right. I mean, in terms of boots, like you look at any other brand in the market, you're looking, somewhere around that $150 to $200 price range, anyways, and they're right in there with everything else.
Yep.
They're fantastic. I mean, I've heard that same story from, probably a dozen people. Like, I thought this box was empty when it showed up at my door, and no, they're just that light.
They're that light. So I got to tell you a funny story here. Brett's chiming in, and he already beat me to the punch here. I got a message from one of the guys. One of my good buddies that brings a lot of his customers out with me. Now, they work in the golf industry in turf. He's a turf specialist and goes around, sets up all these different machines and stuff for all these golf courses and chemicals and aerating and all that. And I take these guys out fishing last spring. Now, they did a late ice trip, I believe, to like Lake of the Woods. And then shortly after came home, and they were in the boat with me. And, we got a brand new 2075 Pro V with that nice Lund mat on the bottom. And we're catching fish, and everybody's having fun. And I had to make a phone call. So I'm sitting on the side of the boat, and I'm making a phone call, and I look down at my mat, and I'm like, oh, my God. Looks like somebody aerated my mat. And here he had those Klondikes, and he forgot to flip the cleats down or flip the cleats up, and he walked around in the bottom of the boat and aerated my Lund mat. So now the joke is they're the most expensive boots he's ever worn.
Yeah, definitely would say so. Oh, that's rough. That's not a good way to start out a new boat, but at least you can laugh about it now.
Yeah, well, it was. So we got a new mat in there. The good thing is that when he stepped into the boat, he didn't step on the gunnel and scratch anything, and it was all good there. But we get a chuckle, and we laugh about that pretty much every time we get together and fish.
That's good.
What else is happening? What else you got that's new that you'd like to share?
Oh, new. I've seen you've talked about the Z Darter quite a bit. Have you talked about? I guess there's new Wonderbread plastics this year. I know that's kind of the hot trend in ice fishing right now, whether you believe it works or not.
Hey, do you happen to have any of those? That's one thing I didn't get from Ben. I fish plastics a little bit, but I know a lot of guys around here are big plastic geeks, and this new Wonderbread plastic is pretty cool.
Yeah, let's see how well you can see that there.
Yeah, here I'm gonna zoom in here and see if I can't blow that up a little bit bigger. There we go.
So yeah, it's your standard
So
kind
there you
of
go.
glow white, but then it has, you know, those red, blue, and it's a gold instead of a yellow flake in there.
Sure.
And you know, we're seeing Wonder Bread in everything right now, so that was kind of the thought process. You don't see a lot of Wonder Bread plastics, so why not try there? And so far they've been selling like crazy. So I know it's one of those products that a lot of people are like, it's a gimmick. But when it comes to plastics, it's all about confidence. If you believe it's going to catch fish, you're probably going to catch some fish on it.
Yeah. You know, and we've talked about the custom colors things for, you know, quite a few episodes here. It usually gets brought up at least once. And I'm a true believer in, you know, fish don't see color like we think they see color, but what they do see is that contrast. So when you've got something that has, you know, multiple different colors or contrasts into a piece of plastic, it's just, you know, that much more attractant to the fish.
For sure.
So one other product too that I still can't get over, and I'm just loving every bit of it. You know, I'm a big pistol bit guy. We're, you know, run and gun type anglers, and how much have you had a chance to drill with that new Alpha?
I've had it out 3 times now, and it's blowing me out of the water. I mean,
yeah,
I don't think there's a better auger that's ever been made. I mean, I've used a lot of augers in my life, and it impresses me every time I use it.
Yeah. You know, I carry stuff around. I picked up my pistol bit with my big DeWalt and the big battery, and then I put the Alpha with the poly bit in the other hand, and boy, there is not much of a difference. And I tell you what, I'd rather use a drill that's cutting so much faster and meant to cut ice and get more holes per charge. Not putting the wear and tear on my, you know, on my drill, and that Alpha has just been, every time I give it to a customer too, or give it to a guy that is like, oh yeah, I've got an ION. Oh, you got to try this one once, and they're like, oh my god. Or the Strike Master guys. You know, the Strike Master guys are the ones that are like, all right, my Strike Master is for sale.
Yeah, it's I was with a bunch of the Northfin guys over the weekend, and none of them had tried it before. And so I'm like, just take it and try it. Like, trust me, you just have to try it. And every single one of them was just blown away by the performance. It is a very impressive auger.
I can honestly say I've got probably close to 3,000-4,000 holes on one of them already, and the blades, you know, the blades are as sharp as they were when they were new. I even got a couple little chips out of the blades. I think I was cutting into some weeds and chipped a couple, but you know, no difference in how it cuts and how it performs. You know, reopening old holes. You know, everything that an auger should do. I guess the only thing I would say is that you know, the auger mounts that are on the market, that's probably the biggest question I get is what auger mount will hold this, because of the hexagon shaft. Everything that's out there is still made for a round shaft. So we've had to do some modifying on our auger racks, but other than that, that thing is as impressive as anything.
I'll see if I can't. I don't know if I can flip my camera around, but I'll show you what I've got for. So on the Wheeler, I don't know how well you can see that, these Copeland mounts, that works.
Those, did you get the ratcheting ones?
Nope, these are the non-ratcheting ones, but it's the metal.
Okay.
The metal ones versus the plastic, and I had the D2 on that last year, and that works well. And then on my sled, I just had a guy custom make this one, and so basically it's just these 2 notches here, and it just sits perfectly in there. And that's seemed to work really well so far. I had that. I mean, this is my 3rd year with the Copeland ones, and I have no complaints on those.
Nice. I took those Jaws of Ice. You know, those were still probably my favorite mounts.
Yep.
I made the clamps that go over the top. I got some plastic from a buddy and custom made them and squared everything off versus round, so it clamps over the top of that hex shaft and works really well. But I just ordered a set of those new Copeland, those ratcheting claws. And they just got here. I haven't put them on yet. I'm going to put those on my ATV, and we'll see how that works. And kind of excited to see. They're built pretty tough. I will give them that. They're pretty stout, so should hold that auger just fine.
Yeah, I don't think you'll have any issues. Like I said, I had the G2 on there last year, which is roughly the same weight as this. I think this is even a hair lighter, so I think this will be just fine with that.
Nice. So what shack do you have in the background there?
That's the Escape 2600. Right below me here, I got the new Wide One XR.
How are you liking the wide one?
It's fantastic. I had the regular wide one before that, and having that little bit extra space in the front, man, that's a big deal.
Yeah. For people that don't know, the new Wide One XR is the extended room or extra room, however you want to call it. But, we've had a lot of requests for just a little bit bigger one-man shack, and they upped it up, quite a bit this year. And for the bigger guys, the taller guys, it gives you a lot more room. And even if you're just, normal sized guy and you want just a little bit bigger shack to have a little bit of breathing room, that Wide One XR is pretty awesome. You get a lot more headroom too for fishing longer rods.
For sure. That's to me, like I hate to have to carry extra rods with, like if I'm gonna be fishing outside a shack and inside of a shack, but you can get away with some pretty long rods in those shacks.
Nice. Well, I appreciate you joining on. Oh yeah.
I was just gonna mention these are new. So the company is not new; it's Fishmore, but Ben just partnered up, and so basically all of his hard baits, they sell boxes, and these little grooves are designed to fit and hold only those specific baits. So kind of a neat product. Cool to see two smaller companies like that partner up and work together. So
yeah, no,
that different products.
Those boxes are awesome. That's the biggest. If there's one thing that is not out there, and that's a storage solution for jigging wrap style baits, minnow baits, and those like shad style baits, the lipless crankbaits. There is nothing out there really that even, and I'm not knocking the Fishmore stuff. That stuff is great, but there's so much wasted space in that box. For a guide or somebody that wants to have multiple sizes, multiple colors, you're going to have to carry a damn suitcase around with boxes because there's so much wasted space.
Oh, for sure. Yeah, absolutely. They do have combination ones too. So if you only want a few of each, they do have those options, which is slick. But if you want to carry a bunch of stuff, you're going to be carrying a lot of boxes.
Yep. Yeah, for certain. Well, I will let you keep packing. I think we're going to talk a little bit about our ice conditions, what I found around here today, and give these guys a fishing report, and then try and get some sleep and back on the ice tomorrow.
All right. Well, thanks for having me, Troy. I appreciate it.
Hey, thanks, Blake. Good luck and enjoy the weather and fishing up in Otter Tail. I'm kind of jealous.
Yeah, I appreciate it. Yeah, it should be a fun time.
Hey, are we going to get together down here? I think Ben was talking maybe in March.
That's the hope. Yeah, I was. I think it's still on the books as far as I know. So.
Okay, awesome. Yeah, let's cross our fingers that we have ice.
Yes, that's going to be the biggest factor, I think.
Sounds good. All right. Well, thanks, Blake.
Yeah, thanks, Troy.
Have a good night.
You too.
All right. Well, thanks to Blake for joining in. He's getting ready to head over to Otter Tail to do some fishing with some buddies up in the northwest part of Minnesota. Blake's a good dude. He's a great photographer, takes awesome photos, good writer, and just all around super, super nice guy. And I wish him all the best of luck here over the weekend. So let's talk about what's happening here on the Winnebago system. And guys, please, ask questions, join in, give us thoughts. If you have any questions about anything else too, please just shoot a note here and I can read it and answer what I can. So I went around the lake today around Winnebago. Yesterday I was out on Poigan, and a couple different things that made me a little bit nervous. That I've been doing this a lot of years, and yesterday with that rain, for the first time, I seen water. And normally if you get a hole in the lake and you got a bunch of water, it's going to find, you know, the path of least resistance, right? And it's going to do that kind of a toilet bowl effect down a hole, and eventually, you know, a 4-inch hole might turn into 10 inches, 12 inches. But I was driving across the lake, and any of that new black ice that that is out there only has like 5 inches. You know, and before you couldn't really see it because it was kind of covered up by that crusty snow. Now it's very easy to see. And then you've got the white stuff that's, you know, not good ice, but there's more of it. You know, there's usually 10, 11 inches in those spots. So when you're driving on that 10, 11 inches and you know that you've only got 5, 6 inches in front of you, you try and find ways around to stay on that thick ice. And what happens is when you've got that new ice and you've got that white stuff around, the white stuff tends to be, you know, a little bit higher because it was there, you know, prior to the black ice or that new clear ice from forming. So it actually creates little valleys. And that dark ice is where typically holds all the water. So I'm driving back and pulling an ice shanty, and you know, it was inevitable. I had to go through one spot that had a bunch of water on the ice, and I had to you know, just punch it. Man, I hit that water, and my four-wheeler, it was like I was sinking. I mean, I started pushing water, a good 6, 7 inches of water in that hole, in that area. And I downshifted so I could get through it, got back up on top of that white ice. And it was like I came up on top of a hill, and I was okay after that. And when I got to shore and, you know, got back to the shack, and the customers were in there, I can only imagine what they were thinking when, you know, we started going over the top. And the next thing you know, the lids, you know, my catch cover lids literally blew off the holes, and water was shooting out of there like a geyser. I could only imagine they thought that the shack was going down, but that's just how much water was on that ice. So a couple of spots that I seen, you know, we were talking about that cyclone effects when it finds a hole. Well, I seen for the first time ever just flat ice, no holes anywhere. The water was soaking through the ice so fast that there were multiple little like vortexes going through the ice. And so I stopped and I drilled through there. There was 10 inches, but it was literally like mush. I took my auger, turned it on, and it just and went right through. There was no solidity to that ice whatsoever. It was like late March, early April ice. And that's when I went back, got the shack, and said, okay, we need to get off this lake. We haven't had any cold weather to firm that up yet. So guys that are going to go out on the lake here in the next few days, you got to be very, very careful because you cannot see those spots. And now we're going to get, you know, 6, 8, 10 inches of snow on top of this. It's going to be a death trap. I've never been more scared of going out on the ice than I have this year, just with all the crazy weather and crazy conditions. You got to remember, when that water sits on top of that ice, it's got to go somewhere, and we don't have sun and heat to evaporate it. So that means it's soaking through. And anytime you push water through ice, you weaken it, you get air bubbles, and you soften the ice. And it's like putting an ice cube in a glass of water. Eventually it's gone. If you don't have the colds to reform it and to make it, you're not gonna have anything there to keep it solid. So we need some really, really cold weather. And even at that, you're never going to heal it 100%, just because of how weak it's got. So this year, I can't foresee us driving out there. I'm sure people will, but I would not go around anywhere that has had, this weakened ice and spots after we get this snow, until we get, couple good weeks of super, super cold weather with anything, more than a smaller ATV or a snowmobile. It's just, it's going to be crazy. I'm afraid of what's going to happen. The landings have really, really taken a toll. We drove around the lake today, and every landing on our system, for the most part, has a ditch that runs along the side of it. Well, all the water that's on the roads, in the fields, everything that, flows back into the lake runs alongside most of these landings and just erodes the ice from the bottom up and, pushes outward. So you're going to drive down a landing and, typically one side or the other is going to have a washout area, and you just got to make sure that you figure out where you're going and watch that, because it's going to get pretty crazy out there, I think, especially after the snow and stuff really gets hidden. And best scenario is that there's still some water on the ice, and once we get this snow, that water just absorbs the snow and then gets cold and freezes. Excuse me. And we get an instant, basically a few inches of ice then from having that snow melt and refreeze. So that's all I can tell you. It's a little freaky. I'm going to pretty much use caution here and check this stuff daily. I've got some places where I know, for the most part, I can still probably get out. A lot of the bays and stuff, you can still walk out and at least try for some panfish and that. But as far as heading out to the main lake until we get some cold weather, I think I've officially put everybody on notice that I will not be going out until we get some cold weather to start firming stuff up. It's just not worth it. Reputation and people's lives and all that for a fish just is not worth risking all that. Especially, gear and equipment and everything else too. So it could be an expensive mistake, an expensive fish, and no sense in doing that. I'd rather sit back and, if I have to get out, I'll go walk around on some of the bays. So that's what I know there. Let's see. We got a couple questions. Free wheeler washes. Yeah, Jared found that one out. He decided to try and go swimming and wash his four-wheeler over on Lake Butamore here the other day. But that just goes to show that, you never know. This weather has just been goofy, and, we're out there pretty much every day and watching it change on a daily basis. It's crazy. And Wes, I completely agree with your thoughts on what this weather is, because I've never seen it. I mean, I have a feeling we're going to pay for it here, come February, March, and maybe into April. I'm hoping not. I'm hoping we can finally normalize, but boy, I surely don't want to, not be able to go fish regardless. If it's going to get cold, okay, let it get cold. Let's get some ice and let's get out and fish. If not, get rid of all this stuff. Let's get the boats in the water and, let's get to fishing. So I don't know. I don't have an answer. I always tell people is, I've done this a long time. The one thing I haven't been able to figure out yet is Mother Nature and control the weather. If I could do that, I think I'd be one up on everybody else. Rob Learman bought new ATV for ice fishing, so of course ice is crap this year. Hey, you're not alone, man. I know a lot of guys that bought brand new snowmobiles this year, and here they are sitting on their trailers in their driveway and their garages, and there they sit. So it started off good, but then this stupid, crazy weather has come and just kind of took the wind out of our sails. So we'll keep moving on. We'll push on. I was in Oshkosh today, and the as crazy as the tech is open. So if a guy wanted to get a boat in and head up to 41 Bridge, if you wanted to fish the mouth of the river, you could easily do it with the boat. I mean, it is wide open all the way through. The landing is clear, and I know down on the Wisconsin River by the Dells, some buddies have been over there catching a ton of walleyes and saugers. So there's plenty of places to get out in a boat. I'm hoping here maybe yet this week I can even get over and pick my boat up, get that thing rigged, and at least then if I do that, we'll get some cold weather and we won't be able to go out in the boat anymore, but we'll got the backup plan. We'll have the ice fishing stuff. So it'll who knows. Let's see. Nathan asked, do you think it's going to be good for ATVs and snowmobiles by Party and Poigan? Nathan, I'd like to hope so. But this year I can't answer that. If you can get out on the lake, running a snowmobile or an ATV, I think you'd probably still be okay in most areas. But like I said, you've got all that clear ice, that black ice. I wish we could get a nice bright blue sunny day and get a good satellite image of that lake so we could kind of mark it out before we get all this snow, but I don't think that's going to happen. And it's going to be one of those things where I think there's going to be a lot of spots out there that are going to get soft from all the water seeping through, and you're not going to know where those spots are. So if you have something heavy or you find a weak spot, there's a good chance that you're going to drop something in if it has any weight to it whatsoever. That's just my thoughts. Don't quote me. Don't think what I'm saying is gospel. I'm just going off of my experience and what I've seen out on the lake here in the last couple of weeks, and being out there for most guys. Any tips for gill at Grundman? Dan, I'd stay off of that area. That was the worst spot on the entire lake. Trying to get out to the lake, that whole shoreline and along the edge of the shoreline is all busted up, floating pieces. If you want to take a chance, while it's warm out, put on a pair of waders. It's only 2 feet deep there, so if you do break through, just climb yourself back up and get out. But if you're just walking around, you're not taking ATVs or anything like that, I'm sure you could get out and find your way out to the main part of the lake. And once you get out there, that part of the lake, the bay there is pretty good. It's pretty solid 10 inches. That stayed froze, and there's no multiple layers or multiple spots of different freezing. It all froze together and is pretty much all 10, 11 inches everywhere you go out in Calling Bay there. But Poygan is a little bit different because we had so many spots that had ice and then no ice, and then the wind kind of blew everything together, and you had pockets and stuff everywhere that refroze once it finally got cold again. And that's where you have all those multiple layers where you've got 5 inches here, 20 or 10 inches here, 20 feet over, you got another 5 inches. So that's where Poygan's a little bit scarier than what Winnebago and the bays and stuff are, just because you've got multiple areas of different ice thicknesses. Let's see. Sean says it's going to get cold and then it's going to be another warm up in February. I've been hearing the same thing. I've seen that in a lot of forecasts, and this could be just one of these winters that we're just going to have to write it off and take what we can get for some ice and just move on to open water fishing and get your honey-do list done so you got a good clean spring. Let's see. Troy's heading to North Dakota. Yeah. Hey, Troy, the crazy thing is those guys out there are dealing with a ton of snow. We had Blek on, and the guys up in Northwest Wisconsin, Northern Wisconsin, Northern Minnesota, the Dakotas, they've got so much snow out there that, you got so much slush and trying to get around. I'm watching videos daily of guys with, big UTVs with tracks getting stuck all the time and having to pull stuff out. So the ice isn't, the ice may be good, but the getting around and moving around, it sounds to be like it's a lot of work. So if you're going to head out to North Dakota, make sure you got something with tracks, it looks like, because I don't think you're going to be getting around anyway. Otherwise, give my buddy Jason a call and go out to Perch Eyes Guide Service and get those guys just to take you out. They've got lodging, they've got fishing and everything all there for you. All you got to do is show up. That almost sounds, something better to do. Let's see. David Shale, I don't know. Sorry about your last name, Dave. It was on Poygan Saturday. I found 10 to 11 inches, including the dark patches. Well, I've got pictures and videos, David, from multiple areas on those dark patches that in one spot is 4.5, 5 inches, and then the next spot is, 10 to 12. So I agree. I found a lot of spots with 10, 11 inches, but then you get into those spots where you take the auger and you drill through and, it's 3 revolutions of the auger and you're through, enough to you really pucker up and, think twice about, what you're doing. But now you take those 5 inches and you throw all that water and stuff on it that we've had here in the last 2 days and all this warm weather. And I guarantee you it's not 5 inches anymore. Even that white stuff, like I was saying earlier, the first time I've ever seen water soak through the ice so fast that, it was creating a little vortex. There were no holes. It was going through the ice. It was crazy to see. But it was pouring rain out, and once I seen that, I just wanted to get off the lake and not have to worry about fishing out a snowmobile or a 4-wheeler or anything like that. I appreciate your reports. There's, again, a lot of places where most people have been fishing. It'd be wise just to double check the ice again, because it is nothing like it was 3 days ago. That much I can guarantee you. The ice was pretty solid 3 days ago, and we're at a spot now where, again, the landings you have to worry about, all that water running into the lake, and, off a county landing, off of Nofke's. You guys have been there. You know what it's like. All that water goes right down the edge of the landings and is going to wash that ice out super, super fast. Getting out there, once you get out in the lake, you're going to find some better ice, but around the landings, that's going to be the issue. And, unless we get it to firm up here too, guys running, if they're going to start driving ATVs and snowmobiles and stuff up and down these landings again, they're just going to wreck it. And, then we're not going to have anything, for the rest of the year. I was surprised on how well, that landing, the county landing, after we plowed that with the tractor and got the tractor stuck in there, how well that healed up. But again, that's because there's no snow left on the ice, and the cold weather that we did get really helped firm that up. A little bit of blowing, drifting snow kind of filled in those voids, and it was pretty good. I guess that's one other thing too, is we've got a lake right now that, with all this water, it has pretty much leveled this thing to a mirror. It is so flat and smooth. And now we get a little bit of snow, and as long as people don't go out there and trash around like they did a few years ago for Party on Poigan, this lake is going to be smooth, and it will be super nice to drive around on with machines once it does refreeze, because you're not going to have all the ruts and ridges and stuff like that. So if there's one positive, I guess that would be it, is that all this rain and warm weather is pretty much flattened this lake right back out. David make a good point. Float suits, guys. Make sure you got a float suit. Make sure you got a buddy. Make sure that you got somebody that knows where you're going. Carry a rope. Carry a life jacket. Make sure you got picks, around your neck, or even a couple screwdrivers. I carry screwdrivers typically in my pockets. Just, it's like first ice all over again, guys. Make sure you're staying safe, and just use that caution. I don't know how more to say it. It's I know it's going to happen. I have a really bad feeling that this weekend we're going to see some reports of some accidents, and it really shouldn't happen. I mean, with common sense and everything else that's going on, guys, just be smart. There's nothing worth dying for, to go out there and try and catch some fish. Let this stuff get cold, and just be smart. As far as all the contests and stuff coming up, I've been getting a lot of messages. Hey, is it going to happen? I don't control that. I don't know. That's going to be up to the crews there. The Party on Poigan guys, Battle on Bago guys. I'm sure they're watching the conditions, pretty much daily, just like all of us. It's still a month away. But they got to use, again, common sense, and take into consideration, all the different factors that play into putting on that large of an event. I was there. I mean, we started that thing, and it's growing, exceptionally large, and they have decisions that they have to make, and I know they'll make the right ones, and just keep it safe for everybody. So that's all they can do. Heck, worst case scenario, put the boats in the river and head to the mouth of the river and do some fishing out of the boat, because that's pretty much what it's looking like it's going to happen. Even out by me, in the Waushara County, Green Lake, Marquette County, the lakes out here, most of these lakes that people that don't know, or the people that do fish this, are, deep bowls. You've got steep shorelines, and again, sand country, and with the ground being frozen, all that water runs right into the lake, and just like anything else, moving water is going to eat that ice away pretty quick. So the shorelines are going to be junk. be like spring. And, if you can get out into the lake, you'll be okay. I'm, pretty much finding that 6 inches or so out in the middle of the lakes, a couple lakes that didn't have snow on it, ask or have about, 8, 9 inches. But again, it's softened up. And we need cold. That's the moral of the story is we need cold. Rob asked a question. Do the organizers ask the guides their opinions on ice conditions? No, they don't. They don't ask anything. They kind of make up their own minds, and they do what they want to do. Most of the guys are, pretty versed in being out on the lakes too. I know they work with, the Otter Street guys, and those guys, they've been doing it longer than I have. So I stay out of that. Uh-oh, we got a phone call. The wife is calling. So we had a couple of other questions here. You see, if you're on Poigan and you're finding fish that chase, will you stay there and try and catch those, or would you move to find biters? Dave, that's a good question. For the most part, I notice when I'm watching like my 360, I can tell the size difference. There's so many 4, 5, 6 inch white bass on the lake this year that when you find those big schools, especially on like 360, you can tell, yep, that's a big pile of bait. There's a big school of small white bass, and then you might have a couple pods of bigger fish kind of floating around those. If I have that, I'm going to stay and fish those fish, because those bigger fish, and what we've noticed so far this year and this past weekend was a prime example. These fish, all they're doing is swimming in big circles, and they're swimming so fast that you can drop a Mega Live down or 360 and watch these fish. And by the time, my 360 makes one revolution, I think it takes 9 seconds. These fish are traveling 40, 50 feet in 9 seconds. And they're cruising. I mean, they're just, I was drilling holes. I was trying to keep the guys, one step ahead. And the minute I go one step ahead, the fish would go 2 steps back. And you really just had to, pretty much get into an area, find a big pot of fish, and drill a whole bunch of holes, and then just walk around, and drop your transducer down. We just we run the M5 flashers and the MX7s, drop the deucers down, and if you see fish, fish them. If you don't, move to the next hole. And when you got that many fish in a small area like that, you can just hole hop with your transducer and, oh, yep, here they are. Drop your bait down, bam, 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 shake it, and, catch a couple fish. And what we find is if you can keep the fish there and excited, and I've been drilling a lot of holes close together so guys can kind of get in, and all fish the same area, because if you keep these fish excited and, chasing baits, it seems like they get real competitive, and they'll compete. And what it does is, 1, it keeps the fish there, but 2, it makes the fish bite. When you got one that's eating and you've got 4 more that are swimming around and they don't get that one, well, if your buddy's sitting right next to you and you pull one out of the hole, those other 3 are still pretty aggressive, and they're going to jump in and try and grab a bait too. So the more you can keep, the fish in the area, the better off you are. Let's see. So if that answers your question, I'll stay and fish them as long as I know there's some big fish in the area. But if I don't see any fish on the screen and it's all small bait fish, then I'm out of there. And I'll still sometimes too, if they're not biting, I'll take off and go try and find a different school, or go check on the other schools that we've been working, just to see if those are a little bit more aggressive. Tends to, this year especially too, with no snow on the ice, the fish are pretty spooky, just because of that hard, crunchy noise from snowmobiles and cleats and everything else. Yesterday the fish stayed there put. There was no people on the lake. We found a pot of fish. It was super quiet, and the fish weren't moving whatsoever. You get on top of the school and pretty much just stayed there. And, they may be shifted, but they weren't doing this. They moved a little bit and then just kind of hover in an area, but they weren't swimming laps. So, and that goes back to, guys, moving around so much and hole hopping and jumping in front. And, it was, it's just one of those things, try and stay put and be quiet, and you're going to catch more fish. Let's see. We've got a couple other questions. You notice any of the springs on the west end of Poygan opening up? Tim, I have not. We've actually driven over, there's a couple artesians, I think, or one artesian on the lake and a couple of other springs. And I have not seen any of the holes opening up. Normally the artesian back in Norwegian Bay, you can actually go up to it and fish, inside the hole. And I haven't noticed that opening up yet at all. And we check it quite often. But nothing that we've seen as far as springs go. Doesn't mean that this recent rain and everything else here hasn't opened it up. I look out the back in my pond, and my little hole that my aerator keeps open is now the size of half a football field. It's really opened up here the last 2 days. So things are going to change, hourly, not just daily, but on an hourly basis here. With the conditions that we have. Fish on, I'm not sure if I found the right channel for Blake Tollefson. Hey, we had Blake on earlier. He joined us. He's getting ready for a trip up in northern Minnesota. So we let him go a little bit ago. But if you want to jump back and watch the beginning, we did a little bit of chatting on the front side of this webinar here. So yep, Blake was on. And Tim asked, does Poygan still have a decent large pike population? Tim, the pike are coming back. There's always a pretty good pike population out there. The thing of it is this year is they've got so much food that it's going to be one of those things where I think they're going to be a little bit harder to catch than in previous years. I'm seeing dead shad on the shorelines. I'm seeing dead shad in some of the holes up in the shallow areas. So the shad came back. That's great news for our fish, but it's not good news for us fishermen. It's going to probably make things a little bit more difficult. There is an abundance of trout perch out there, and then a lot of these 4 or 5 inch white bass are cruising around that are great little baits for pike. When they've got that much food swimming around, and I see it quite often, whether it be a muskie or pike or something like that on some of these schools, you'll have a couple big marks hanging around all these big schools of white bass and bait pods. That's the other thing that I've seen too this year out in Poygan that I haven't seen in a long time is these giant bait balls that are just swimming around, and they kind of do that shoaling and constantly moving around, and we're seeing quite a bit of that as well. But the neat thing is with that is when you find that, typically the walleyes are pretty close by, and we've definitely figured that one out. Is there a good spot to crappie fish on Poygan? Jesse, the thing about our system is all of our fish pretty much swim together. You're going to catch walleyes, perch, crappies, white bass, gar. We had a client that caught a gar here the other day, all in the same schools. So is there one spot better to target? You can go and check out some of the channels. You can fish some of the shallower areas, in back in the bays and stuff like that, where the bluegills and crappies tend to hang out more. But I've never really been able to target just specifically crappies on this system because they pretty much swim together. Now, Bago's a little bit different story. When you find a school of crappies out there, you're typically on them. I mean, when you find crappies, there's going to be a bunch of them around you. But on Poygan, it seems like they just all swim together. They're like one big happy family, and you take what you can get. And if you don't want to sit there and catch white bass, you can go try and find a new school and see what's in that school. But really, there's no magic way to just target one fish over the other out there. Hey, Rob Learman, thanks for joining. You're welcome. Come back next Tuesday. We'll have something planned for sure. Dave says, I found a ton of shad in the backwater spots on the wolf this year, and I think it's killed the pike bite in those. Yeah, 100% agree. There's so much shad. Even this fall in the river in Oshkosh, in the underneath the bridges, it's crazy how many shad we had there this fall. I haven't seen shad like that in many, many years. So again, it's good for our system. It's going to definitely help our fish. We definitely need the bait to help with all these walleyes and stuff like that. But it's definitely going to make fishing a little bit more tough. And I think guys have seen it this year. It's been feast or fathom for us on on a lot of trips. Seems like one day you really get them, and then the next day, the fish are there, but they just don't want to eat. And the one thing we can do is we'll put you on the fish, but we cannot make these fish bite. Short of taking some dynamite or those guys shooting fireworks underneath the ice at the fish. I haven't been able to figure out some days how to get these fish to eat. And it's really, I think too, between the forage base that's out there, but really the weather patterns. When we get into a good steady weather pattern, fishing's awesome. But we have not had that. It is up and down, up and down, up and down. All these different high, low pressure systems moving in one on top of the other. And I think these fish are just freaked out. Every once in a while you get a good day, and it's great all the way around, whether you're fishing perch or walleye or white bass. And when they want to eat, they eat. There's no question about it. But a lot of these days so far, multiple times, either mornings or afternoons, it seems like you'll have a good morning and then a bad afternoon, or a bad morning and then a good afternoon. Hasn't been a real good consistent bite yet. And that's pretty much everybody I've been talking to kind of saying the same thing. So let's see. Paul says, looks like next week is supposed to get fairly cold, highs in the teens per Weather Channel for about five-ish days in a row. Should help. It's going to help. But I don't know if it's going to be the answer. It all depends on how much snow we're going to get, Paul, because we put 10 inches of heavy wet snow on this and insulate this ice. That cold weather ain't going to do much at all. The only thing, like I said earlier, is that if we have enough water on this ice yet and that snow hits it and soaks it up and then gets cold, we're going to have a good 4 or 5 inches probably of just frozen snow, which I'm okay with at this point. I mean, something's better than nothing. Ty asked, do you notice the fish bite better when the pressure is high, low, or rising or falling? So good question, Ty. On a normal year and a normal fishing conditions, we're always looking for that falling pressure, right? That's typically when stuff starts to feed. And you can do a couple different things. If you have an aquarium, watch what your fish are doing in your aquarium. Pay attention to the cows in the field, the deer feeding, heck, even the birds at the bird feeder. I've watched Mother Nature and watched nature for a lot of years. Used to have a big, huge aquarium with a bunch of fish in it. And I could tell you the days, the fishing was going to be good, and the days, pretty much just stay home. Even your minnows in your minnow buckets, you can kind of get a judgment sometimes too on how those things, if they're all bunched up in the ball, laying on the bottom in the corner of your minnow bucket, good chances that the bite's going to be slow. But when the minnow bucket's open and they're top to bottom and swimming all around, that's always a good sign that the fish are feeding. The aquarium, my aquarium, the fish would be up around the top, swimming back and forth, and those are the days the good bites were going on. And other days, they're laid down, buried in the corner, and not moving around much at all. But I like a good, steady, high pressure system to come and sit on us for 3, 4, or 5 days. And typically after that, second day going into the third. If you have good steady pressure, that third, fourth, fifth day, however long we can get that's when the fishing is the best. Or when the pressure starts to fall. If you're coming off of a high pressure and you're starting to fall, that's typically when the fish really start to feed. On a big low pressure, after it falls, stay home. Those fish are going to be so dormant, and just like us, when we get into a funk and you've got that pressure pushing on you, I can only imagine what it feels like. The fish can only go off of what people said, but for a fish's bladder, their air bladder and their stomachs, and how those pressure systems work, imagine having an elephant stand on your chest. You're probably not going to want to eat or do a whole lot of anything, versus having an empty stomach and looking for food. So pressure systems definitely change how the fish react. And I would like to think I would know the answer and be able to follow it more this year, but nothing has been consistent. We just have not had a consistent bite and have been able to say, yep, today the fish are going to eat. The days that we've thought the fish are going to eat, they've been mediocre at best. And then there'll be like time periods of, an hour or two where you should think that an entire day is going to be good. And then you get an hour or two bites, like, all right, here they are, they're starting. And then boom, just before you get into dark, you'd think that the bite's going to pick up just before dark. And they bite from like 2 till 3:30. And then typically from 3:30 till dark is when it should get good. No, they just decide to stop eating. So I don't have that answer. I I wish I did, but I can't figure it out this year. It's been a really, really weird year. And from everybody I'm talking to, it's not just here. I mean, it's all across the, guys fishing in Wisconsin, Lake of the Woods. I haven't heard of a really good bite, anywhere. Good days, but not a consistent bite from guys. And I think a lot of it is just because of the weather changes. Even guys that have been down in Iowa bluegill fishing, they have a couple of good days, but that's it. Nothing to write home about. And if somebody does have a great bite, please let us know. I'm sure there's plenty of people that are watching and that are going to watch this that are looking to do some fishing trips, and definitely would love to send people to some really good spots that they've never. Austin says lucky to get some fish from 4 till dark. 100% agree, Austin. It's been crazy. Normally that last hour or so is like dynamite. I mean, that's the magic hour. Not this year at all. It seems like the bite's been better midday or right away in the morning. And then after that, it just peters off, and you really have to move around and do your work to get some fish to bite. So I don't know. I don't know what the deal is. That's why they call it fishing and not catching, as they say. I can't give you my spots. Paul, I don't want your spots, buddy. You've worked hard. You're old. I want the old guys to enjoy the rest of their time catching fish. So you enjoy those spots, Coot, and if you want to take me out someday, I'd love to go with you. But I don't want your spots. What else is happening? What are you guys seeing? What parts of the state are you? The old Coot. It was good seeing you today, bud. Where's everybody from? Where are you guys seeing ice? What are you guys seeing by you? Are we the anomaly? Please chime in. Nobody. Everybody must not have a keyboard or be able to type. I'd be curious just to see where everybody's from. Let me know where you guys are all from. Yeah. Sauk County on Tuesday. How's the ice down in Sauk County, Dan? One of the spots I want to go check out, I got some backwater stuff that some friends showed me down by Portage, and I thought about going down there, but boy, I'd be afraid to go on any of these river systems. Laz, how's it going, buddy? Fished on the border of Missouri and Iowa this past weekend at 8 solid inches with wheelers. You guys got better ice down south than what we do. It's crazy. Jeff Peterson over in central Wisconsin. Miller Dam mornings have been awesome. After 2 p.m., it's dead. 17 inches ice. So where's that, Jeff? Miller Dam, is that more towards like Mosinee, Wausau area? It's crazy. It seems like when you get north of 29, it seems like that magic spot north of 29, and it seems like every year winter you guys have a normal winter. South of 29, we never know what we're gonna have. It seems like the further south we go, the worse it gets every year. It's I don't know, it's just crazy. Tim Smith. So Tim, had a question. He's only made it out on the main lake once this year, and the bay bite on gills has been incredible. Do you think the lack of good ice on the main lake and keeping all these guys in the bays will have a negative effect on the future for gills on Bago? Tim, Bago's a big lake. There's no question that people are going to harvest bluegills. No different than what these pelicans do. I shared a post on my page today of the pelicans eating those walleyes up in De Pere, and those things are devastating to our bluegill populations. And I don't think you're going to hurt. I don't think you're going to hurt the system, Tim. There's the normal bluegill guys, and yeah, it seems like every 3 to 5 years or so we have a really, really good bluegill bite on the bays on Winnebago. I know all the spots that guys got them early this year, and I can remember when I lived in Oshkosh, I fished those spots religiously, and it was every 3 to 5 years those spots would just keep producing. And I think this year is just one of those years that everybody got bluegills. It was a really good bluegill bite. Guys are still getting them. The bluegill numbers are up a little bit, and fishing's been good. And I agree. I think because we're forcing people into the bays, that's what people are fishing for. But I don't think it's going to hurt. I think everything will be just fine. Let's see. Dan Joel, going back to South Dakota for the second trip of the season, was on 16 inches between Christmas and New Year. Should be 24 plus this trip. Just hoping the fish bite a little bit better this time. Well, good luck, Dan. Travel safe. I know they got a bunch of snow out in the Dakotas, and quite a few guys I know have been going out to South Dakota and doing really well on some big perch this year. I think that's probably an underfished deal, is going out to the South Dakota and catching all those big pike and those perch on some of those farm ponds. I know a lot of guys do that, and I wish I could get away and go do a trip here one of these years. And I miss doing that. I miss going up to Canada. I miss going up to Devil's Lake and the Dakotas with the boys, and I just need to take a week off one of these days here and just go for a drive and try and do it. But we got so much stuff happening, and we're going to be getting into the sail season here again come February, and it'll be running 100 miles an hour and trying to fish as much as we possibly can. So fish Bago and Butamore, lots of marks, few followers, but no real bites. Jason, were you on Big Butamore, and how was the ice out there? I know getting out on the ice, did you go off of Sand Pit, or were you out on the north side there off of Sunset? I'd be curious to hear what you got there. Caden, how's Bago looking for this weekend? Hey, buddy, I stick to the bays, man. I would not venture out very far at all. Getting out on the bays is going to be a little bit tricky. If you go and watch some of the videos on the page from this morning, the shorelines are pretty shot. All the landings have really busted up, and a lot of floating pieces. Like I was telling some guys earlier, you're only in 2-3 feet of water at best. So if you wear a pair of waders, you should be able to get out. If you do break through, that first 50 yards or so, if you do break through, you pretty much just stand up and get back up on top of the ice. So just needs to freeze. We need some cold weather to refreeze all these bad spots, and hopefully it locks up, and hopefully the snow doesn't kill it too much. So it's bad year. That's all I can say. It's a bad year for ice. The guys up north are dying with snow, and we're dying with rain. Kim says Petenwell has been consistent, 2 to 3 walleye an hour, mostly dead stick with a tip up mixed in. How's the ice on Petenwell, Kim? Jason, so a dead stick, here's the thing. I'm a huge tip-up guy, fishing with the bite me's, and we fish a lot of tip-ups. And the tip-up bite this year, those dead sticks, for me anyway, has been horrible. We have not been able to get fish on minnows at all. Most of our fish are coming super, super aggressive jigging techniques. And I think this is, again, just my theory, is, when they're hungry, they'll eat anything, right? They're going to, whatever you throw down there, they're going to eat it. But because these fish are pretty well fed, I think a lot of the bites that we're getting are aggression bites, and we are working the snot out of these fish. Jig, jig, jig. I mean, shaking these things up and down, constantly moving until you piss one of these fish off enough that it finally comes in and commits and eats it. But it's typically when there's like 2 or 3 on the screen at a time, and they're fighting for competition to get that bait. And I think that's really where we're getting, why we're getting more fish, is because we've aggressively targeted these things. Whereas, in past, you go set out a bunch of boxes and some tip ups, and you're just going to randomly get fish throughout the day. And we haven't had that yet. It's been pretty slow, and a lot of our fish have all come jigging. Not only that, because of these fish moving so fast, to try and put tip ups out and set tip ups some days, you'd be picking those boxes up and moving them, every 30 seconds to a minute, just because we're constantly, we're literally starting one spot and I'm just drilling holes and following these fish and moving with them and just watching them on the electronics and, trying to stay ahead of them. So, the dead sticks are great. But so far this year, I can say that they have not been working for us. Eric says, just want to try and get the kids to catch anything, but don't know where with this weather. Eric, with kids, with what's going on, bud, go see a movie or something. Let this stuff firm back up. Don't put your kids in safeties, in harm's way here. Keep them safe. Let this stuff firm back up and then get the kids out on some of the bays, Silent Bay and let's see, the Sunset Bay over on Butamore. It's good spots to go try and catch some panfish for the kids. Otherwise, Shawnee Lake is always a great place to go put some tip ups out. Their ice is a lot better up there. You go put some tip ups out and catch all those small little pike. It'd be a great spot for taking the kids. And yeah, the bays for panfish, absolutely. Let's see, we've got David says, I did a fair bit of pan fishing the first few weeks on Little Butamore, and the gills and crappie were pretty good. Could definitely get a limit of decent fish if you work for a little. Absolutely. That was a hot bite early on this year. And, we drove over the bridge and was very surprised to see how open Little Lake was. Pretty much as far as I could see, they had very little ice even going up to the shorelines. So I'm pretty certain that you might be able to get on by the locks yet, but over by the water treatment plant, I'm sure that ice is pretty much gone. So it won't, that will not be fishable here for a while. Let's see. Kim, 8 inches of good ice, some cracks this last Saturday on Pete and Well, jigging hard, and they would move to the dead stick. Okay. That Pete and Well bite is a little bit different than what we have over here. One spot that I'd like to go and learn more and, give me some other options, but I just don't get enough time to get over there and check it out. I need to spend some time in there in the open water and really map it, because I know that river system, it changes so much. With the fish biting, jigging versus tip ups, what size spoons are working, smaller or larger? Tim, good question. Tim Smith asked that. Mixing it up, man. I've figured out that on days where they just don't want to eat, you really have to figure out what they want. Do they want something smaller and moving all over the place, really fast? Or do they want something, a lot bigger and, ripping these things and getting more motion out of it? Are they feeling that bigger bait? Every day has been different, but I'd say for the most part, I'd say like a number 3 Swedish pimple, the forage minnow, I think it's a 16th ounce forage minnow, or the smaller cast masters, and believe it or not, anything like brighter colors, just like a green. I've been catching all mine on silver or gold, but a green and gold has been working really well. Something that had just a little bit brighter color to it. I think, we're finding some water that stained because of all the runoff and stuff like that. And I think just that extra little bit of flash, little bit of bright color there, that contrast that we talk about so much has been helping. All right, Coot wants to see the staircase. All right, we'll see if we can't. All right, Coot. There's the staircase. It turned out pretty good. Now you got to come over and have a beer over here and sit down and enjoy one with me. Hey, thanks for your help. Let's see, what else we got? Jason asks, when you say aggressive, are you using rattle baits? I've tried the rattle baits. So the when the fish are eating, that small micro Z darter, that V2 in the blue and silver, has a rattle in it. And again, just shake. And I'm not putting any live bait on anything. Just shake that thing, real lightly, just shake it. And that has been deadly. But it seems like when the fish are a little bit more negative, they're not chasing those minnow baits as aggressively as what they do with the spoon. And I think it's because that spoon is so erratic, where a minnow bait, it glides, right? It goes back and forth and, kind of calls in fish. But it doesn't have that real erratic action like a spoon does. And that's where if you sit, just go in your bathtub or fill up a 5-gallon bucket once and drop a spoon in there and just shake it and watch what happens. That thing is darting all over the place. And that's what's, I think, getting these fish to bite. I always tell my clients, it's kind of like a figure 8 for a muskie. You're trying to piss the fish off as that bait's going up and down. They're looking all over for it, and all of a sudden it gets in front of their face, and bam, they hit it. So it's just one of those things where you got to try and make them eat. Dusk or dawn for pike or anytime. Pike are predatorial feeders. They're going to eat whenever they feel like it. I don't think there's a magic time for pike fishing. Your typical feeding times are low light conditions or light transitions. It's typically when most of your predatorial fish feed. From dark till light, and then from light till dark. Those two time periods are best. But in the last few years, I think my best bite has been midday for the bigger fish. Definitely, that like 10 till 2 midday bite seems to be the best. Let's see. Were you guiding Saturday morning or just scouting? How did you usually take grandkids there to play in the water on the beach? Let's see. Saturday morning. Nope, we were out. We had clients out on Saturday. Is there much of a night bite on the Bago system besides burbot? Let's see. So Poigan can have a really good night bite. Seems like later in the year. The walleyes will go out and set tip ups out overnight, and it usually we can get a good night bite. Going into that latter part of the season. You got to remember these fish are migrating. Up the river. So once we start getting runoff, which we are right now, so that'd be one place I'd love to go check. Would be areas the natural river channel coming from Butamore up through Winneconne and up the Wolf River. These fish, it's a natural deal that they hear or they feel the current, and they're attracted to the current to swim upriver to stage to get ready for spawning. So you cut those fish off and find that natural highway that they're running up and down, and that's where those fish are going to be, and it's a good spot to throw a bunch of tip ups up at night and hang it out. In past years, we've caught a lot of fish in 2 o'clock, 3 o'clock in the morning, and it seems to be the best bite is that time period. So yeah, there's definitely a night bite out there, but more later on in the year. I mean, there's a few guys that, you know, do the camping and stay out there random times throughout the winter season, and, you know, you'll pick up some walleyes here and there, but that's typically what we do is, you know, go out and throw out the boxes and, you know, have a good night, sit and, you know, play cards and, you know, have a few drinks and make some food and sit out on the ice for a while. Let's see. Have you been tempted to put the boat in the river? I'm trying to figure out here what day I could possibly go up and pick it up. I just got word that it is done. So now I got to get it home and get it rigged, and she'll be ready to go. The Lund is officially getting picked up tomorrow or Thursday morning, and heading to Switzerland. So we're going to make room for the nitro here and get that girl home and make sure we put the stereo in and get the rest of the graphs hooked up, and we'll be ready to fish. So I'm excited. You know, if it's going to stay warm like this, you can bet, Todd, I'll have that nitro in the water here before you know it. All right. Well, yeah, I know the Wisconsin's rivers is wide open. The Fox is open in Oshkosh. The Landing was wide open. You could go fish 41. You could go fish the mouth of the river. There's a lot of spots right now we could go put the boat in for certain, and it's very tempting. I'm hoping that we get a really big cold spell right now, and, you know, we can just forget about the boats and the warm weather here for a while, and you know, get actually back to ice fishing that we're supposed to be doing, because it is January. We still have a whole month of February left, and a lot of people looking to come up and do trips yet this year, and I hate sending people away. So hopefully we get some cold and stuff starts freezing again. We'll be back to ice fishing. Eric, is Battle Bago going to happen this year? That's a question for them. I'm sure they're watching. I'm sure they'll have answers here in the upcoming weeks, and they'll make that decision. I don't have anything to do with that any longer. But hopefully they'll be smart, and again, just kind of put everybody's safety into consideration, and you know, even if they just have a big party in the tent again on the shore. I know they've had to do that in the past. So there's a lot of fisheries that are sweating bullets. Absolutely. I mean, it's just one of those things, you know, not only the fisheries, but the state high school fishing team contests, all these different tournaments. I mean, all across, it's putting a damper on everything. It's on sales. And here, I'm going to tell you this right now. If you guys are looking to buy ice gear this year, this is going to be the year to do it, because you're finding deals, and you're going to find even better deals here from now until, you know, ice is gone at every retailer, especially when you go into mom and pop shops. If you're looking to get something, go and wheel and deal with these guys, because they're not going to want to have this stuff sit on their shelf. They're going to want to get rid of it, and it's going to be a great time to buy. So take your tax money and go get some new ice fishing stuff. May not be able to use it this year, but you'll have it ready for next year. Jeff, no. Is it crazy to be casting from shores? Absolutely not. I mean, casting, you know, if you can find open water right now or any of these rivers, I can just about bet that, you know, you could catch some walleyes in these rivers for certain. It'd be a great thing to go try if you got a bug up your butt and you want to go and try it. You know, fish from some of the bridges in town or from shore. Not a bad thing to do for certain. All right. Well, thanks again, guys. I'm going to bail out. I got some stuff here to do yet tonight, and the wife should be on her way home from work. It sounded like she had a rough day at work too today. So thanks again. And next week, we're going to have one of the guys from Vulture Systems. They make a tip-up alarm or tip-up sensor that is good for up to a mile. They use them for, trail cameras or not trail cameras, but like trip thing or trip wires and stuff like that for trails. They've got stuff that detects motion. Some pretty cool deals there, and we're going to talk with those guys next week and kind of show you what those things are all about. Yeah, should be hopefully a decent weekend here for most of you guys. Thanks for joining on, and be safe and watch the snow, drive safe, and we'll catch you guys next week. Have a good night, everyone.